Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and today we are taking a look at some breaking news from the National Hockey League as we have a very, very big news bit here going into not only 2023, but already talking about 2024, as the NHL usually likes to announce when next year's Winter Classic will be at the current Winter Classic, and that's what we got this season. Now, there were some reports about where next year's game could potentially be had. The NHL's version of the Super Bowl, the biggest day in NHL viewership. Yeah, unfortunately more than the Stanley Cup playoffs, but this is a huge game, and the NHL will be taking it back to the West Coast in 2024. Now, the official release from the NHL and what I'm wearing today is going to give you some insight on where next year's game will be. So if you're planning to go to the 2024 NHL Winter Classic, let's get right into it. So this is an official statement from the National Hockey League. The NHL is proud to announce that Seattle will host the 2024 Winter Classic on New Year's Day at T-Mobile Park, the home of our beloved Seattle Mariners. The Kraken will face the Vegas Golden Knights in what is sure to be an action-packed matchup between the NHL's newest franchises. Now, obviously, this is a big deal. The history of the Winter Classic, the first Winter Classic, which was in Buffalo back in 2008, which is crazy. There's been a couple of other pretty big games. Obviously the one in Ann Arbor, Michigan at the Big House, home of the Michigan Wolverines. We've seen some classic thrillers at Citizens Bank Park, the Flyers and the Penguins. The Bruins and the Penguins have met up here this season. Obviously, a couple years ago, we saw the state of hockey. The Minnesota Wild hosting a Winter Classic and one of the coldest Winter Classics ever. This is an event that is very much a big deal in the NHL. And the NHL obviously has made their push, not only in expansion, but in certain games, trying to make more games in non-traditional hockey markets. And the NHL has talked about maybe playing in Florida, playing an outdoor game between the Panthers and the Lightning. This year for the Stadium Series, we're going to see a game down in North Carolina, in Raleigh, North Carolina, with the Hurricanes. A couple years ago, we saw the Cotton Bowl hosting the Nashville Predators and the Dallas Stars on New Year's Day. So the NHL has tapped into different markets, and what's more interesting about this one is obviously the fact that the NHL is bringing in two of their newest franchises and putting them outdoors. Now, the NHL is obviously trying to create that rivalry here between the Golden Knights and the Seattle Kraken, two teams playing in the Pacific Division, and the proximity geographically is not technically that far in the grand scheme of the North American continent, but they're still pretty far from each other. But obviously, the idea is Seattle trying to put themselves on the same sort of footprint as Vegas in terms of how quickly can they succeed. I think to some extent that's there. They did it in different ways, but in the first 10 years, I think it's very much something that we're going to compare between Seattle and Vegas in terms of their first 10 years of success. How have they done? But obviously, Seattle, the newest team hosting it, is a big deal. I think there was some questions about could Seattle potentially play a team like Vancouver, who is just up the road north. That was definitely something I think they considered. But the NHL wanted to get Vegas in there. And I think that Vegas is definitely one of those teams that will travel up to Seattle. And obviously, Seattle is trying to grow their fan base. And what better way to do that than to host a Winter Classic? Now, I think in the next 5 to 10 years, we're also going to see an all-star game up there in Seattle. The NHL is going to push Climate Pledge Arena. A lot of people have said that's one of the nicest venues in the National Hockey League, the home of the Kraken. But this time we're going to see a game outdoors in T-Mobile Park, which is the home of the Mariners, which is a baseball team. We've seen the NHL delve into baseball stadiums quite frequently. Citi Field, where the Sabres played the Rangers in New York. Most recently this year, for the second time in Winter Classic history, at Fenway Park, the home of the Boston Red Sox. The St. Louis Blues hosted a game in Busch Stadium, which is the home of the St. Louis Cardinals. So this is nothing new for the National Hockey League. And this is something that I think is going to be a continuing theme. It seems like every other year the NHL is trying to bring a game in the Western Conference and in the Eastern Conference. And I have my predictions for 2025, but we'll get to that at some point here in the near future. Not in today's video, but I'm very excited to see the NHL hosting a game outdoors at the venue of their newest NHL franchise, the Seattle Kraken. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of the NHL bringing the game outdoors in the newest NHL city, the Seattle Kraken? Let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time.